Good afternoon, everybody. Uh, Welcome all of you for this webinar. This is a series of webinars we had started called Lock the Virus, Do Not Lock the Spirit of Learnings. And this is the eighth webinar. We started on April 1st, and this is the eighth webinar. Our tone has been always to share the knowledge, share the experiences, what we have, so that it can be beneficial for all of you. Our business transformation model is based on the lean principle. So we will always talk about the application of lean principles in variety of work situations. So today, what we are going to talk about is enhancing the sales effectiveness through digital intervention. So here we are bringing some very specific point. We will talk about the sales effectiveness. We will talk about how to apply the lean thinking, and then we will talk about how to use the digital transformation in that. So this is something which is more value add this time. Apart from lean, we are introducing digital transformation. Before I talk about the agenda, let me just talk about few of the hygiene factors. All of you in the attendees are onto the mute mode. So the way to interact with us will be, you can use the Q&A section and post your questions throughout the webinar. What we will do is we will pick up those questions and we will try to answer that. If you want to speak, then raise your hand and put it to us. We can also unmute you on that. That is how we will be running this webinar. Next page on the agenda, we will, I'll just do a brief introduction of us, and then we will talk about the key challenges, way forward, customer experience, sales productivity, what are things, implementation, and finally some case and the Q&A. So by way of introduction, once again, my name is Manish Prasad. I'm also the founder of this company called Kognoz Research and Consulting. I'm an industry veteran. I like to say that with more than about 35 years of experience, out of which majority of my time was as an industry executive. So I bring a rich experience of hands-on practice in the industry, as well as consulting across 12 different geographies, countries, and different sectors, different functions. So bringing all of that together, my experience is what I will always try to share here. On my panel today, we have got two people. First is Ankush Talwar. Ankush is a data scientist. He is a technocrat who loves the digital transformation, and he has been working on digital transformation platform, 16 plus years of his experience on that. And he will be taking you through the digital transformation journey, that how we do it. And another panelist today is Prabhat Pant, who is my colleague also. And he also brings about 15, 16 years of work experience in the industry. He has got some hands-on experience, but mostly consulting experience, working in Aisha Consulting, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and now with us in the Kognoz. He has got work experience in variety of sectors and variety of functions. So we will also be benefited by his rich experience in the field. So that is my panel today. Little bit about the company. So maybe on the next slide, I will, yeah, here it is. So Kognoz was founded about 1.5 years ago, and but we were in existence even before that with different other brand names, but we settled on this. We are passionate about transforming people, transforming businesses. So that is what we say is our vision. Our values are we are in the humility. It is we are reflective, we are collaborative, we are honest, and we embed ourselves into the client environment. That is our way of working. We have got 4 business verticals, or the services, so to say. We are into the business transformation. The second services is the people transformation in terms of organization, people, and change. The third is Kognoz Talent Solutions, which is about a digital platform for human capital management. And we have got a partnership with SumTotal, which is the Skillsoft company, and they are we are their implementation partner and reseller for Southeast Asia for SumTotal. And finally, the Kognoz Learning Academy, who are also the host for these webinars, and where we are running a lot of learning and development programs for that. Our key partnership, we have got Cognitive Talent Solution of USA, with whom we collaborate, and we have done one of the webinar along with them on organization network analysis. Sum Total, as I just said, is a human capital management software, and Talent Click, which is for the assessment center. So how do we do the psychometric assessment for leadership development? Our main thing is we enable the workforce, and then we execute the priorities, and we elevate the values of the stakeholders. So that is a very brief about the Kognoz. And without wasting much time, I will invite Prabhat to take you through the first level of journey. I will talk about this later.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Manish. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So thank you, Manish, for the introduction. Since the topic is about sales and how to improve the effectiveness and leveraging digital in enhancing the sales, so we will quickly touch upon how the sales has been evolving over last 20-25 years or more than that. Initially in the 70s and 80s, it was more about feature, function, and benefit. You have a product to sell. There is a seller. There is a buyer. You need to go to that buyer. He likes the product for its feature, and then he'll buy it. Starting 80s and early 90s, it all moved to a relationship building. So you want to have a continuous business from the buyer. So you need to develop a certain relationship, and then basis that relationship, you keep getting the repeat business. Starting 2000, it became a solution selling, when you need to understand the pain of the problem of the customer. The customer has a need, and that problem needs to be resolved with either a product or a service. So it became a solution selling. In 2010s, it became a very customized, specialist kind of selling, where you need to understand a very specific need of the customer, which could be different than a similar customer, but who's buying the same product but with a different expectation, because the knowledge and the understanding of the customer became better. Since the advent of digital and analytics, and then speed of the internet increased, it became a different kind of ball game altogether. And it became understanding the customer journey, mapping his preferences. Some of those things we will be talking subsequently. So essentially, this slide is suggesting that in last 45, 50 years, the role of a salesperson has changed from simply selling a product or a service to a more in-depth understanding of the customer's need, and then designing the solution accordingly. Right. So we need to work with the tools and ways of the future in order to serve the customer better. Just a quick touch upon this typical sales process. So this is called a sales funnel. Some of you may be familiar with this. This typically depicts, how a sale process moves from at the top here, which is essentially about, the inquiries and customer connect. So this is a hopper kind of thing where all these things get entered in different shape and form. Then there is an identification, confirmation, you prepare a value proposition, and then that you submit the proposal, you present the proposal, and then finally the close, which is basically when the sale really happens. But then the sales job does not get over here. It also has certain other elements post the closing, which is reselling, references, and upselling. So this is basically some of the definition behind it. Why it is very important to understand it if you do not understand it till now is because the entire improvement cycle is based upon the best understanding of the sales cycle. So we will be covering some of the key aspects of this in subsequent slides. So I will quickly, because since we have understood the sales process, so let us just quickly, see that what are the common mistakes made by the salespeople in a sales process. So we will be launching a poll here. Let's just see that what are some of those common mistakes made by the sales team here. So the poll is there in your screen. You have 20 seconds to vote. Please vote. You can vote for more than one as well. 5 more seconds, please. Hurry up. Yeah. So I'm closing the vote. Anyone who has not voted, please vote. Okay. Okay. So I am now going to publish the result. Yeah. So this is the thing. Okay. So what you can see here is that not being able to follow the buying process of the customer has come out as one of the biggest mistake made by the sales team. Not knowing the competition, overselling the product, or aggressive selling. These are some of the other mistakes. But what essentially comes out as that understanding of the customer's problem, a customer's buying process has the most important impact in any sales process. Okay, so we will come back to this. Let's also look at some of the best research done by the Harvard Business Review, and what do they say? So if you see that as per this research as well, 26% of the time when you are not able to sell it properly or make a sale altogether, is that you don't follow the customer's buying process. If you see, don't listen to customer needs also is a part of the customer's understanding. So if you add these two, it's around 40%, 45% of the time you are not able to sell because you do not have a good understanding about the customer. There are some other aspects also, but what is most important and stand out of this entire pie is that around 40-45% of the time you are not able to make sale because you do not understand how the customer thinks about the entire buying process, and then you do not listen to the customer's needs properly. How do you come out of this is basically a data driven and a lean sales process can help you in avoiding some of these mistakes and being more effective around it. Some of the key challenges, and this is very important here, is that, and we are primarily talking from the sales perspective, but we have also looked into the challenges from two key aspects. One is that business as usual. So in the normal times, in November 2019, some of the basic challenges faced by the sales team are like this. So quick identification of the customer needs and preparing accordingly. This is very important. Customer face time and capturing needs. So you have identified them, but then have you captured them properly? That's another mistake. Sometimes you could have understood it well, but then you are not able to capture it and then respond accordingly. Assessments of need and designing right value proposition. It's another very important aspect. So you have a product which is really good. Sometimes your fantastic product is not being able, you are not able to sell. The reason behind is that you have understood the need, but then you are not able to position the product correctly in the eyes of the customer. Identification of the key decision maker. This is very important. In some cases, say B2B kind of a scenario, when you have to make a sale through a professional procurement guy on the other side, you are not able to understand who is the right decision maker. You invest all your energy into talking to somebody who is not relevant in the scheme of the things. Then closure of sale, it's a won loss. So it is very important to understand even if you have lost a sale, that whom you have lost and why you have lost, because this gives you a very good opportunity to reflect on the entire sales process. However, there are some new additions post COVID-19, and these are very important and relevant for the current scenarios. That now change in preferences towards discretionary products. So some of the products and services which are, say, in the luxury segment, where customer needs to think before buying, and it needs a good amount of spending, their preferences will definitely change. They will only spend it when they believe that they have some extra money. Otherwise, this is definitely going to change. So you have to think and look at it very carefully. Physical connect with customers. So for a salesperson, the most important aspect is that face time with the customer. But then if you are not able to meet the customer physically and show him the product by hand, or by giving him a touch and feel of the product, it is going to be very difficult. Another important aspect, last but not the least, is that quick adaptation to the market need. How quickly you can adapt to the changing market need. It's very changing. Some of the companies and some of the industries will not be there, say, in 6 months to 1 year time because of this COVID scenario, and some will flourish like anything. So that's the point behind, how do you quickly adapt? And this has been seen in the history as well. Some of the companies which have successfully moved ahead of the recession curve are because they were able to quickly adapt to the changing circumstances. So each stage of this cycle, of the sales cycle, presents unique challenges, and then the idea is that to understand them, capture them, and then plan accordingly. So what is the way out? So we have spoken enough about some of the challenges that we face, but then how to come out of it. So that's also very, very important. Uh, let's quickly summarize what we discussed as some of the key challenges. Number one, customer identification, understanding of the customer needs, complexity of the sales process, adaptability to the changing needs, right? It's very, very important. And then you have to understand your sales process or product, because in some time you will launch a product every month. A response to the customer needs, how quickly you respond to a customer need. It could be about a product, it could be about after sale or anything else, or any other information he's seeking. Right value proposition, that whatever you have designed or your product, how you are positioning it. Then performance measurement is another key aspect, that how do you measure the effectiveness of the sales team. Then cultural constraints, some of the key constraints such as not information sharing between two different silos, two different geographically spread teams. Now, suggested way outs are, you need to develop sales and marketing intelligence, more face time with the customer, simplifying by the waste removal. By waste, I mean here not value added activities. So we are talking from the lean parlance, which we will cover quickly. Turnaround time, how quickly you can listen to the customer's problem and go back to him in a day, in an hour, as quickly as possible. Effective communication, even if you are going back to the customer, you are not communicating the right thing. So again, he's coming back to you and you are going back to your organization, come back. Then reviews and course correction, rewards and incentives. So related to performance measurement, also related to the cultural constraint and collaborative problem solving. Some of the solutions that we are going to talk about here today is data analytics and machine learning. We have, you must have heard about them, but then we are going to cover, something about them. Demand value stream, which is again, from the lean parlance. Data-driven insights based on AI and ML. AI is artificial intelligence. Lead indicator driven PDCA cycle, MDI. This is another key aspect that we are going to touch upon here. RIs and MDI is basically how do you go about implementing any change that you are planning. So RI is rapid improvement events and MDI is managing daily improvement. So understanding of the customer journey and solving it with the help of technological enablement is the way out of the challenges that we are currently facing. Let me just quickly talk you through the fundamental philosophy that we believe upon. This philosophy has come from a book called Lean Thinking. This is based upon the Toyota business system, Toyota production system. Some of you may be aware with that. So this book suggests that how you can also, imbibe some of the best practices followed by the Toyota company, and they have mentioned them as 5 key principles. So number one principle is we specify value from the standpoint of the consumer. Very, very important. I mean, it's not that what you believe you deliver to the customer. It's more important that what customer wanted, at what time, and at what quantity. So if you look at it from that perspective, then you will be able to understand the value. Identify the value stream. How value, as described by the customer, is flowing through the entire process, through the entire organization, from procurement to the processing to the delivery. Make the process of value creation flow smoothly. So, I mean, if you have decided to give some information, give some service or product to the customer, is it getting stuck somewhere? Is it not being able to flow freely, from one end to the another? Is it stocked in the form of, say, inventory as a common thing, but at the same time, information backlog, but only in line with the pull of the consumer. So, I mean, you have some information which you need to supply to the consumer, but not in advance. I mean, you need to only supply it when he really needs it. So this is called as the pull concept. While pursuing perfection. So this is again about how, you perform better day after day. And then you look into your process of what you did today, you reflect upon it, and then, try doing better by, relentlessly pursuing the excellence. So these principles can help any company in replicating success of world-class organizations. So you need not, necessarily go into visit an organization and then see that how that organization perform, or hire people from somebody, some organization which are good in selling. I mean, you can do that as well. But then if there are some fundamental changes that you can bring about in your organization, you will be able to deliver same kind of success in your sales process. So quickly, I'll touch upon the first principle here. which is customer defines value. So how do you measure it? I mean, it's very important. It's easy to say that, I will look everything from the customer's perspective, but how do you do that? The process to do that is also captured as a concept called buy cycle funnel. So this basically tells me that how quickly I can look into the customer's buying philosophy, that how a customer's journey move from the first moment he has seen or he has felt a problem or he has felt a need to the time the need has been solved. So this is basically from problem recognition to the selection. This typically is an example we have taken for the industrial solution, but in any problem, in anything that you buy, even for a consumer purchase or even a white good kind of purchase that you make, this is the typical process which is followed. And once you have the good understanding behind this, then you can only able to understand that what customer wants from this entire process, how he is thinking about it. So this gives a different perspective than my own sales process. So I need not only driven by my own sales funnel, I also need to align that with the customer buying process. How it helps is that in terms of eliminating some of the non-value added activities, because I might be doing something which has nothing to do with the customer's understanding. Once I cut that, whatever is left is called as the value, and then my capacity will also expand accordingly. So this formula, which is basically a lean formula, helps in terms of bringing about more productivity and ability to serve more. What are some of the waste which we need to eliminate by this process? Number one, insufficient prospecting. So I have not gathered sufficient information about the customer. Inaccurate forecasting. I have planned something that I will be able to achieve, meet and prospect some 1,500 different consumers or customers next month, but then that's not going to happen without actually looking at how part of it. Pursuing non-significant leads. So I am wasting all my energy on something, on a customer who is not at all moved from problem recognition to financial assessment, while I am all in the process of giving him a proposal. He doesn't know that what sort of financial arrangement he has. So there is no point in looking at the proposal. You first need to understand that whether he has clarified this thing in his mind. So typically you have seen that sometime when you go and shop, or sometime when you also in an industrial scenario, people typically ask this question, that what is your budget? Because they want to understand that have you made up your mind at what kind of money you are going to spend on it. So it's very, very important to understand some of those basic things. Time allocation between existing customer versus new customer leads. Another very, very important aspect. You need to find a very balance around it. Understanding buy cycle funnel and planning as per the customer defined value will help you in terms of eliminating some of the non-value added activities, waste, we call it in lean parlance, and also serve customer better, be more responsive to the customer's need. Now, how do we do that is that there are multiple value streams that exist in an organization. Sales is also value stream. So typically from the sales parlance, there are 4 types of value stream: develop, demand, deliver. And then there is a support value stream as well, which support all these 3 top 3 value streams. And then this typically depicts IT, finance, and HR. It's very, very important to also look into the support value stream, because sometimes the waste generation or non-value added activities are also a part of the support value stream. So it's very critical to have a good understanding behind it. You cannot ignore them. However, the focus today is primarily on the demand and develop value stream, because this is something which will require a lot of investment going ahead, because customer preferences are changing. You need to adapt to the new process. You need to design new processes. So how it helps is it in terms of, first of all, you do the current state mapping, where you actually identify all the value added as well as non-value added and non-value added required steps. Some of the steps are needed because of the regulatory and legal requirements. Then you create a future state map where you have eliminated some of the non-value added steps. The idea is basically move towards the ideal state map where there is no non-value added activity at all. Some of the non-value added, regulatory or required activities can be eliminated through a process change or through a technological enablement. That can also be done. I mean, you don't need to do it every time. Can you make it a periodic affair? So all the processes have the value stream involved in them. The idea is to, the key lies in finding them, flowing the value through them, and removal of the waste if the value is stuck somewhere. So this is a typical value stream exercise which helps in terms of eliminating some of the key waste and giving aligning your processes as per the customer needs. We will quickly touch upon how it helps in terms of enhancing the productivity. But before that, let's quickly go into a poll. The poll is about uh, how much time you actually get to spend with the customer. So you have it in front of you. Please take 30 seconds to vote. Okay, so 10 more seconds. Please vote. Okay, so I'm ending the poll now. Yeah. So, 43%, almost 10 participants have suggested that 20% of the time the sales team. People are also saying that 50% of the customer face time they get. I mean, we need to discuss this, but my belief is that this is more than what we have normally seen. And then there are few people who have also said that less than 10%, and one person has voted nearly 75% of the customer face time. So by customer face time here, I mean is that how much time you need to you actually get to speak to the customer, meet him, present his case, as well as talking and preparing to meet him. Let's see some of the what are the best scenarios in some of the world-class organization as well as in the common organization. So if you see on the left side, there is an average performance. There are two graphs under average performer, and then there is a graph on the world-class performer. So the legend says that the blue one is the actual customer time. The orange one is the preparation time, and 42% is the internal work. So gray one is the internal work that you tend to spend. And preparation, by preparation, I meant here that preparing for, preparing a product, preparing a dialogue, preparing a customer communication. So this you can also add to the overall time you get to spend. So in the average companies where, the sales performance is quite average, there are two types of very clear cut performers. One is the high performer. This high performer in sale tends to spend around 40 to 50% of the time with the customer. So around 60% of the time he either prepare for the customer or meets the customer, and 42% in the internal work. Whereas the low performer tend to get only 20 to 25% of the time with the customer. Now, this is a very stark difference between high performer and low performer, and that's the point about the low performing companies, is that it is more person driven. It is more of a skill driven. So this is more skilled. This person is more skilled. So he is able to spend more time because of his own ways, and he understands the organization. He understands how to navigate through some of those challenges. However, as a systemic improvement, it's not there. So in any organization, you will find that there are more low performers than high performers. So a typical bell curve, if you take, there are only very few number of people who will cross the bell curve. Otherwise, most of the guys lie under the average performance. So this is the problem, because it's not happening because of the systemic thing. It's happening because of the person's will and person's skill. Whereas in the world-class companies, the typical time spent by the sales staff with the customer is around 50 to 75%, and it depends upon product to product categories. And then 15 to 20% of the time they spend on preparing for it. About 20% time they spend on the internal work, which we typically call as the non-value added work. So some of activities such as documentation, preparing for internal submission, bill submission, and some of those things, which is a big thing in the sales process, most of the time goes here as well. So the idea behind understanding the buy cycle funnel is that how you increase this blue area and then reduce this. Because if you do not spend time on the process of the customer's buy cycle, then you will not be able to do justice to the customer's expectation and preferences. Some of the sales productivity lever is quickly touching upon time spent with customer, prepare well for the sales call, regular review of the sales funnel, drive your time spent between existing and new customers. And sale is not the end. So seek feedback, referrals, and loyalty, because this gives a confidence to you that whatever you have done till now, customer has confidence in your product and your service. Sales productivity is a function of right amount of time with the right customer. Here we are going to talk about the next key aspect, which is the enhancing customer experience. And what do we mean by that? So with the current scenario, and it's very important here, is that first of all, we need to understand the buying psychology, and it depends upon product to product. So there are typically four types of product categories here: essentials, treats, postponables, and expendables. So quick understanding: essentials are needed, must have. Treats are something indulgence, which, say for example, ice cream, something which when you need it, then you need to buy it. Postponables is something which you can postpone, say uh, buying a car, so which is basically a desire. In most of Indian context, this is a desire, but in American context, it could be a essential as well. Expendables is something perceived as unnecessary or unjustifiable, say spending money on jewelry, unless you are buying it for a ceremony. Otherwise, spending money on it could be called as the expendable. Sorry. uh, so first of all, you need to understand that which product category your product or service falls into it, and then you need to decide upon how you want to position it in front of the customer. Clear? So it's not only about clever advertising and product that can guarantee success. In good time, anything can sell, any product can sell, but when the tiding is not in your favor, then how you are able to sell, which is the current scenario also, is the key, and that also prepares your organization in the best way for any situation. I will not spend much time here because I want to move to the digital segment. Typically the consumer segments, the behavior is changing, and if you see this on the column here, there are typical actions taken by the consumer when it comes to the typical scenarios, like currently how he treats different product categories, different service categories, when tiding is not in the favor. So essentials, people will slam on the brake is something which, so in the red color is no. Yellow color is something which is about, you will think about it, you will postpone it, or you will buy it. Red color is must have. So slam on the brake is somebody who is quickly stop buying anything which is postponable and expendables. People are typically on the lower strata of the income. Trained but patient, so people who are doing okay, they have there's some money with them but not much. So essentials, they will still go for the favorite brand, but treats they will reduce. However, postponables and expendables, again, they will not invest. Comfortably well off people who are in the higher income strata, they will continue to buy favorite brand. Treat, they'll become a little bit more selective. And similarly is true for postponables and expendables. Live for today, people who don't care about saving money. They have so much money, they have never cared for money in their life. They will have a different expectation towards these four. So this is a typical example about understanding some of the changing behavior, and how you need to segment your product and services along these four quarters. Now I will invite my colleague Ankush here. Ankush, are you there? Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, so I mean, we all understood some of the changes, and customer preferences are changing, and especially in the current scenario. But how to go about it? What's your take on it, and what do you see that how some of the digital technologies in the current world, which I believe you are a master of, how they are going to help us in having a better preparation for it? So if you can just walk us through it, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I heard in the polls also, we heard two important questions. One was about customer understanding, two is about spending more time with the customer. So those are the pressing issues in sales, in any sales funnel. If in today's world, with the data deluge that we have, with the amount of social media channels that we have, we are not understanding customers. It's criminal. So what we're talking about here is the value addition in sales is going to come through extreme customer understanding. So micro profiling customers, really understanding their preferences, their habits, their values, their life stages. Most of us make choices based on what life stage, how much risk appetite, how much spending appetite we have, our loyalties, our interests, and a lot of these things are available on internet. A lot of these things can be mined with data and technology and machine learning and using sophisticated algorithms. So when we meet a customer, we should be as informed about the customer as we possibly can. There are massive scale databases, data warehouses, which are available on cloud, in on premises. So we should get the data together, profile, deeply understand the customer, be ready to meet the customer and present the best present the product in the best possible light. That's when we make our sales funnel most constructive and efficient.
Okay. And what is your take on, some of the enablers? I believe, there are a lot of technologies available, but how does this typically happen? So if you can just throw some light, how it is, being enabled. So you talked about data, lot of data. So if you can help us in understanding quickly that how it happens in the organizations or some of the advanced organizations which are working on it.
Yeah, yeah. So the let's say the route to digital or route to digitization is based on four broad pillars. It's based on data. Our recommendation or my understanding is that data has to be brought into a single version of truth. Data has to be made accessible, available. Information has to be transformed into information and wisdom at all levels of the organization, at all levels of the sales funnel. So people should have access to data. It's also called democratization of data. So we start with that. Is infrastructure that is already a lot of infrastructure is moving on the cloud. There are massive gains of moving some of the data on the cloud, and we all understand that there is privacy issues on keeping and legacy issues in which you want to keep data on premises. But what is happening is this is leading to a very strong hybrid infrastructure, and there are numerous enough and more plugins that organizations like Google and Amazon have created that can plug into your warehouses and plug into our warehouses and integrate and send data very quickly, do APIs, integrations, intelligent workflows, and all of those things, which is leading to faster convergence in sales funnels, and thus leading to better and more constructive time with customers, which is a key
Okay.
ask.
Okay.
Enable
This is helpful. Yeah.
and machine learning. So there are three key areas where machine learning is really advancing in terms of communication and sales funnel. One is actual language processing. So we already see bots and some of those concepts talking to people
Yeah.
that can be intelligent about that. And a lot of it is about vision now. So these are the two senses that are getting computerized for the lack of a better word now. And fourth is channels. We need to think of our sales approach as an omni-channel approach where there is a possibility of cross-channel integrations. So omni-channel doesn't mean that you have 5 channels and you're working across all 5 of them. These channels have to be able to talk to each other, exchange leads across each other, and make the sales funnel work.
So by channel, you mean, say, for example, on the social, on your website, on your shop, on your, say, brand shop, or on your dealers, right? Something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a very healthy mix of online and offline channels.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. So these are strong areas or areas that we need to focus on.
But how does it help? So, I mean, I understood that, but how do we really map it with the entire, sales process? If you can throw some light on it, because I understand it's very important to have tools, but then if you do not, my understanding is that if you are not able to actually map it along with the process, then it's just an investment. It's no output, right? So if you can just make us understand, through this,
Yeah. So giving a tool to someone who's not willing to use it is useless. I agree with that. So how we've broken down, or let's say what the recommended approach is, and digitization is never a binary journey. It's not 0 to 1. We are not going to get digitized tomorrow. It's a hybrid approach. It's a journey, so to speak. So what we should do is we should modernize our infrastructure, have capability, and it's like changing wheels of a moving car. So it's not like that you stop the car and then, so you have to keep selling, and you have to still understand consumers and sell more to new consumers and keep that circle going. In that manner, what we suggest is we move towards a more hybrid, evolved, modern infrastructure, and those investments come in from technology, IT departments, and all that. So let's say, not in our control right now, but they will be happening. They will be happening. Workflows are going to get more and more intelligent. Organizations that are not going to do that are going to be the ones that are going to start lagging behind. Data will get more and more connected. So these three enablers are going to run through the funnel. They are going to be available for all of us as salespeople as capabilities very soon, particularly after such unprecedented times. What we can talk about is if we really want to use these tools judiciously, where this is where AI and ML come in. So with getting a lot of data that is connected and super fast computers, we should be able to profile customers better. We should be able to mine social sentiment. We should be able to understand consumer intents. So we should be able to be more prepared for customer conversations, client conversations.
So Yeah, sorry, it's no more a simple CRM or a simple ERP that that is
Yeah.
that was a need, say 10 to 15 years back, right?
Absolutely. The sales funnel that we have on the left is extremely complicated right now. It's super complicated. Too many touch points. And we need to enable our salespeople with, so salespeople have to be enabled with video, with conversational AI, with ability to take images, ability to send images and send information and get the data.
I think some of the toolkits you are trying to mention over here, some of the specific tools available.
Some of the toolkit that that one could adopt into and move through them. Some of these are household names. We would have heard of them. It's just that we need to leverage them well and right to go fast.
Yeah, so I think this is very, very useful, Ankush. But my understanding is that it's not. So what I have heard from the people and people who with interact and industry forums, but we have heard that it's not easy. There are some challenges that companies are moving very, very cautiously. So let's also hear it from our audiences that what's their take on some of these things, some of these technologies that what do they believe as some of the typical challenges in their digital implementation journey. What do you think about it, Ankush? Let's do a polling.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a poll in front of all of you. Please vote. You have about 30 seconds. So some of the key challenges in the digital implementation as per your own understanding. How and where to start? What is the return on investment? What if it becomes obsolete, becomes old? I have started using it, say by the time it's implemented, it's over. And identification of a reliable partner to implement and work upon it. Yeah, 15 more seconds, please vote fast.
You can vote more than one, yeah?
Yeah, you can vote. What do you think? So we have 4 here, but then what's your take? Which one would come out as the top choice by the audiences? Any thought on it?
Either understanding of ROI or understanding of starting point. That's what my hunch is.
Okay.
You'll
audiences, please vote.
Sure.
Vote. Okay. So I'm going to end the polling now. Let's see. So people are saying that you are right. ROI is one of the key reasons, but how and where to start is also very important. I think equally, if not there, because we have low number of participants, but if you look at number of participants, it's there. How and where to start. So it's equally important. So any thought on it, Ankush? So I believe, that's also very important because you need to start the journey someday. Yeah. But how and where to start? Any thought on it? I believe you are going to talk about it. So some of the questions that we also spoke about earlier. Any thought on it, that how and where to start about it?
Yeah. So the way to think about it is think small, is think proof of concept, is to be able to understand and fix the basics first. So the DM has to change, and it's a slow evolution. It's like the way we have evolved over years. So it takes a while. So it's not, there's no, we shouldn't be urgent and hurried about it. Projects fail if we try to do that. So we need to understand the reason for digitization. We need to put in the right intent in it, understand the value areas that we want to address. The closer to the customer we get in our digitization, the more the value will be, is what sort of a thumb rule is. But we need to identify those value areas. We need to create the right plan. And the other important thing is we should garner efficiencies first before trying to deliver value to the customers already. So intelligent workflows, getting workflows sorted, having integrated systems is very, very important. We develop a small proof of concept, establish that it is feasible, workable, is delivering value, and assess the value that is delivered. And then we move to, let's say, full-fledged implementation, let's say, of a chatbot, of a data collector system, of a real-time decision-making system. And these are based on sophisticated algorithms, but a lot of those algorithms are right now plug and play. So and we don't have to really become digital. We have to use digital and then evolve into becoming digital. So it's not that we become Google tomorrow. It's not that we become. It's a slow journey. We evolve into it and we through technology and deliver that.
Yeah, I think that's very important because some of the key things that you are talking, lay the foundation, identify value areas. I think some of the basic things, if you can do right, the overall result and overall success will be much better, although you will take some more time to do this. But then if you don't do this correct, maybe you will never ever be able to reach here delivering the right customer value, right? Yeah. Thank you, Ankur. So I'm Ankur, sorry. So I mean, I think that is really helpful. I will quickly touch upon how to go about implementing some of it. So we have a standard methodology at Kognoz, and different companies can adopt different types of implementation approach. But this is a large and this is a very generic plan which anyone can adopt to. So we'll start with value stream analysis, which we have spoken, VSA. Then RI is the rapid improvement event. We'll quickly see what is that. And then we'll move to MDI. So MDI is managing daily improvement. So VSA is identifying the value and identifying the activities which are not adding value. RIE is flowing the value and eliminating waste as quickly as possible in a series of experiments. MDI is making it all the more sustainable in a collaborative manner, and also creating a unique mechanism to flow value between different stages and review it periodically so that you can do the course correction at a shorter interval. I will quickly touch upon the rapid improvement event. VSA we have already covered. So rapid improvement event is a process to coach people to solve the problem. It helps in terms of quickly bringing about the change rather than doing it in a project manner, which is a long term 6 months to 10 months, 1 year kind of a project. We say that you do RIE to make change happen within a month or 2 months. Don't take more time than that, because otherwise people's patience will run out, their motivation level will go down, and then they are not able to see value out of it. They'll say, why we are doing it? It's a waste of time. In anything that you do, like Ankush, you also said that start the basic, but at the same time do it fast. I mean, if you fix the basic right in a very rapid manner, then only you can move to the next stage. Otherwise, what will happen? You have a digital plot in your mind, and then you start doing it. But then if you do it slowly, 1 year, 2 year down the line, you realize that you are getting nothing out of your investment, and then you'll stop at all. Maybe sometime people will get dissatisfied, and then they move. The another key aspect here is, which is about the MDI, is how seamlessly you follow a feedback or a loop cycle between different stages of the sales process. And the cycle is typically called as the PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, act. You review, you take action basis the review, you check whether the action has been taken properly, and then you again act upon it. So that's how you typically move between these two. So what is typically happening is that between different stages of the sales process, there are leads coming and flowing out. So initially at the identifying stage, you have 200 odd customers, but at the confirming, you will have only 100. Value prop, you will have 50 proposals. So there are certain fallouts happening, and then this is happening because of some of the natural progression as well as some of the inefficiencies that you have in your system. The idea is basically to understand that why and how we can eliminate those and improve upon those, work upon those efficiencies. So this is typically done through a PDCA cycle. And with the technology enablement, this can be done in a much faster manner. Real-time data collection, if you can do, and dashboarding. Advanced analytics, if you can apply, say, meaningful insight you can generate and then decide rapidly. Activity analysis of the sales force. So you understand that where most of the time of my sales force is going. Monitoring flow of values to the customer at shorter intervals. Capturing, tracking, and monitoring preventive and correcting action. So if you have taken some action, how you are capturing.
So here, I think, Prabhat, what I will ask Ankush here is that what kind of a digital technologies on machine learning and AI we can use here to accelerate this learning path and make it more efficient?
Yeah.
So some of the machine learning and AI technologies that are very, very prevalent, or that should be used in all of these areas, is let's say visualization first. So when the data gets together, you need to be able to visualize it to take the right decision, to push to keep the PDCA work progressing. You need to understand the right metrics. So there is metric consultation. KPIs should be good or should be intact. Then we move to more predictive, preemptive sort of analytics, where we use, let's say, regression techniques or econometric models or predictive models that are going to start predicting consumer behavior. An example is lead scoring model, let's say. So if you have leads, they can be scored, you can prioritize them. Another example is let's say in sales environment, and particularly let's say in car sales environment, you can start predicting the response to campaigns and response to communication and all of those things. So then you start getting into more and more predictive behavior and converge the funnel faster.
So I think, I mean, it's very, very important to have a very strong, loop, feedback loop in the system. And we typically called as the review mechanism that is there in sales review. Sales reviews are a part of some of this. So my understanding is that most of the organizations have it, but let me just also take a poll from the audiences is that what's their take on this, that if they have a similar kind of structure in place or not. So let's quickly do a poll in the paucity of time. If you can vote quickly, it will help us. So how often sales reviews happen in your organization between, within the sales team? So between a sales field staff to the manager, or between the manager to his boss and to his boss to his boss. So quickly how it happens. Yeah. Quickly guys. Yeah. You have only 50% of the response. 15 more seconds, please vote fast. Yeah. 5 more seconds, please. Yeah. Now I'm going to stop the poll. Yeah. So here's the thing. So most of the people are saying that they have a weekly rhythm of reviews, and in some cases it's monthly as well as quarterly. I will also have a question that what's their take on the efficacy of these reviews? It means that whether they are really effective or not. So if you can quickly vote on this as well, uh, then we will be quickly talking about some of these things. You have 15 seconds, guys. What do you think? They are very effective. They in some cases, do you know that they exist in your organization? Not effective at all. Waste of time and full of for the sake of documentation. This is hypo here, for the sake of documentation. Yeah. 15 more seconds. The bottom one is for the sake of documentation, just for the documentation. Okay, 10 seconds more. All right, so I'm going to end it now. Yeah, to share results. So I think there are two scenarios which are coming. One is that most of the reviews are happening weekly, and most of the participants, 60% of the participants at least, are saying that they are very, very effective. So I mean, that's a good thing. But what we are also saying here is that if you can also make it like Ankush mentioned about it, if you can enable it through the technology and do it at a shorter interval, they will help you more, in delivering the right kind of a result. So we call it a managing daily improvement. So we are not saying that you do a review daily, but what you do is that you do a improvement tracking on a daily basis. And there are three key aspects of it. One is managing the KPIs, then Gemba problem solving, and Gemba leadership. Gemba is a Japanese word which means at the place. So, you need to go to the place and Gemba problem solving. Ankush, any thought on automating and digital intervention on these three key aspects of the MDI? I mean, what kind of technologies are there? What sort of? I think you've spoken about it, but then still, if you can just quickly share.
Yeah. So it's right. So if we at the expense of not wasting time, or we shouldn't be wasting time, but quicker reviews is better. It gives us opportunity to turn things around faster. And right now, data through the pipe is consolidated, available, and we have technologies and tools to consolidate it, present the meaningful KPI. So 15-20 minute, half an hour daily review becomes very effective in pushing the agendas through, or pushing the envelope on sales. The other thing is, in terms of Gemba problem solving, while it is at the place, but right now in the current situation, it's very difficult to be at a place. We're not in our offices. We're at our homes. Virtualization, digitization of all of that is bringing in a lot of information to be able to take Gemba kind of decisions by, let's say, virtually being at place, and the ability to conference, the ability to click images and send it and understand that is getting very, very powerful. NLP, computer vision is enabling a lot of that. So we can still, in current situation, we can still go about doing a daily improvement cycle and evolve that.
And it's very, very important because, this gives you a pulse check very quickly, and then you can take course correction also very quickly, just to avoid some of the typical scenarios such as month-end sales. where a lot of pressure.
I think what is important is in today's time when people are going to work more remotely, work from home. So these technologies which will accelerate this managing daily improvement, this will convert into what we call as a self-monitoring culture. So people will be having a dashboard which will keep showing them the mirror, how are they performing, and they can do the self-correction. And again, through the intervention of ML and AI into the problem-solving space, I think they will be enabled. So it's a very big enabler in today's changing scenario where people are going to be working more remotely.
So this is a typical example of the MDI engine, and you know what Ankush and Manish just explained is that with the help of technology enablement, if you can do it, I mean, do it daily, do it weekly, monthly as well, but at the same time, do it at a shorter interval so that you can have a shorter course correction, and then that will lead to the benefit of the organization. I will quickly summarize what we have discussed. We have just end to the seminar, and we also webinar. We also need to take some questions. So people start posting your question as well. In the meantime, I'll summarize. So understanding of the customer needs is of utmost importance. Faster adaptation, accelerating the sales response time to the customer needs, leveraging digital. So this is going to be the big thing. I mean, we all have been talking about it for past 2 to 3 years, but then this is the time when you can start thinking about it very judiciously. But at the same time, like Ankush said, you know, earlier that start with the basic. Using review mechanism effectively. So you have review mechanism. Most of the companies have it in their organization, in their mechanism, but then using it effectively. So an organization-wide approach of adaptability and innovation of the employees is going to help immensely in coming over the tide. So this is primarily all from our side. We have few cases, but I would prefer to take questions. What do you think, Manish? Let's take questions if there are any.
Yeah. I think we are short of time, so let's take the questions because case may not be relevant in terms of the variety of audience.
Yeah, so if you can start posting your question, and if you want to speak, then also you can raise your hand, and then maybe we can allow you to talk. Yeah.
Looks like Prabhat, either you have done a very good job of explaining, or people have got no question.
or they are clueless about what we spoke about. So I'll still go with the compliment. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and you can ask it later as well, because this deck and as well as the video will be posted in our website, and maybe we can touch upon on it again. But any question you have for now, please ask. Please feel free to ask.
You can type in your question in the Q&A section, or you can raise your hand. And so if there are no questions, then we can end the webinar. So I'll just do a count of 5, and then if no questions, then we can end it.
Yeah, please.
So just the reverse counting: 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Oh, there's one question which has just come. Oh, that is calling. Thank you. Okay.
That is it.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you for your time. As Prabhat mentioned, this is available on our website as well as on the YouTube channel. And you should be able to ask questions to us even later. So thank you very much for your time today. Bye.
Thank you.